Hello and welcome to your wonderful poll pad training today. My name is Chris Fitzgerald. I am with the Clark County Clerk's Office with voter registration. So first, thank you very much for your public service and making sure that everyone is able to vote throughout this voting season and into Election Day. So today what we're going to be doing is going through the construction and how to process a voter using the poll pad. So at your polling location in the morning, you will probably find one of these boxes here, or there's one of these cases. So all you have to do, open it up like that. And then inside, you will see that we have a poll pad, which is, let me pull it out, an iPad. That's what we're gonna be using. You'll have a screen cleaner, but you'll also have a lot of PPE to disinfect and make sure everything is clean as well. You'll have the base that you're going to put the iPad on. You'll have a printer for printing out the labels that go on the envelopes that you have. Card scanner tray, and this will all be constructed in a couple seconds. You have some cords for your printer. We'll do that in a couple seconds. And then, well, we have the brace for the iPad that goes on the base. You have two stylus, or two styli, who knows what the plural is, the voter can either use their finger or use one of these to use their signature with. You have MiFi, so a Wi-Fi, so a hotspot so that the printer and the poll pad will be able to sync up and provide all the data to central office. And then, if your poll pad is starting to become low in charging, we have our charger cord for that as well throughout the day. So you will be okay with power, you will be okay with signal, and so let's get this constructed. I'm gonna close this real fast. Things are super, super secure, which is great. So have that right here. Branding, great. So you have your iPad. What you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna make sure that the label right here is gonna be on the upside. So it's always facing up. So that when you construct it, there's the circle, here's the bracket and the brace. You're just gonna push the two ends together and voila, here you go. See, it's all there. From there, you're gonna wanna put the pad into the base. It just requires a little bit of force, but that's all right. And there we go with this. And so it'll be able to swivel. You'll be able to lift it up and pivot it. And then the final piece, of course, is your ID tray. You wanna make sure, see, it's on this side, it's on the left side. So just, let's make sure you can put it there. There, voila. So we have that. So just a little bit of background on this poll pad. The Clark County started using poll pads, I believe, in the general election of 2018. Before, you had to look through the paper book and it'd only say if the voter was registered or not at that precinct. So with these polling pads that we're able to quickly do, we're able to process a voter in pretty much 35 seconds, which is great. From the moment you start touching to the moment that you say, congratulations, go get your ballot. It's about 35 seconds, which is excellent. So from there, we want to make sure that if a person comes up with an ID, just a couple tips before we actually go into processing a voter. So when a voter comes up, you're going to ask them for their ID, of course. Any state-issued ID will work, whether that's your driver's license, a photo ID, college ID that's issued from any college in Indiana. So whether it is IUS or Ivy Tech, maybe it is IU or Ball State, those IDs will be counted. And additional to that, a military ID and a passport are also valid ID for voting. So just remember, when you're asking, don't ask just for driver's license, ask for your photo ID. Do you have your identification with you? That way it's more inclusive, it's more inviting. Please note that the passport and the military ID do not scan. There's no barcode, and probably the student IDs as well. There's gonna be difficulty for scanning, so you're gonna be wanting to do manual entry for those registrations. When you put the card into the tray, sometimes it might not work when it goes like that. So what you might want to do is, I'll look at the camera, is turn it around. So when I have my ID, you're gonna put it facing down like this. Nope, you're gonna make sure that the cardinal is in the bottom right. So if we can get that close right there. And sometimes they put it down like this. It most likely will scan, but if not, make sure that it just goes like this. And we'll touch base on that when we start going through the process of that. Another thing that you might want to look out for is if someone brings a paper temporary ID that is issued by the BMV. Sometimes people just got done getting a new ID registered and it's waiting in the mail, but they'll have the paper ID waiting for them in the mail. They'll come out with a printed paper ID. That is valid, that is acceptable identification. So chances are there is a barcode attached to that piece of paper that is scannable, but if not, we will do a manual entry with that. Additionally, the address on the ID does not have to match the registration address. We want people to vote, and there is a form for that. If during the section where we're going to go through this, there'll be a way that you're gonna ask if this is the correct address. If there's any updates that they need to make, then we'll hand them a form to fill out before they are able to cast a vote. So we just want to make sure that their registration address matches their most current address as well. And if the same thing goes with people who are recently married, sometimes they'll do a hyphenated name, sometimes they'll change their name. So we'll want to make sure that while they're registered, their ID might not match their registration information completely, but they are registered in this county. So we want to make sure that they're updated, that their information is updated. So we'll also hand them what's called a VRG 412. A lot of jingle there, but that's just updating your information, and we'll be able to have them vote as well. And for when we go through this, just the final thing before we really dive down into the wonderful poll pad. When we're doing manual searches, you don't have to worry about the long last name. You'll just have to worry about maybe the first 3 letters of the last name and the first 3 letters of the first name, and you'll be able to figure out who that is. It'll bring up a list of that. So without further ado, we'll take a little break and then we'll get to going into the poll pad. Thank you.